Right. So this is the book that I've just released. It's called The Lake of Betrayal. It's part of a series called the Fundu 4 series. In this particular book, the children who are part of the Fundu 4, they essentially at the end of the previous book, a certain something happens to them which makes them a little different from normal kids. And so in this book, they travel to a base in the Himalayas to try and understand what exactly has happened to them there. And while they're there, they're also supposed to figure out there's a spy working in that base, and they're trying to figure out who that spy is. That's what this book is about. The book is, like I said, the second in a series, and the Fundu 4 are essentially the series is a mystery and adventure series, and my idea is essentially to create the kind of books that I enjoyed reading as a young boy myself, which was, adventure stories and stuff like the Famous Five and the Five Find Outers and all that, but do it in the context of children today, where there is far greater exposure to technology and modern methods of doing things, and at the same time in Indian settings. The kind of settings that the Fundu 4 adventures are in also should bring to light some aspects of India that are little known. For example, the next book in the series is set in a region called Shekhawati in northern Rajasthan, which has this astounding landscape of villages where the entire houses in all the villages are covered with murals. Now, people here get to hear of the Sistine Chapel and the murals in the Sistine Chapel, and because those things get marketed very well. Very few people even in India know that Shekhawati has these amazing Havelis which are like completely covered with paintings. So a setting like that sounds like a great place to have an interesting adventure. Or another one where I'm planning a story set in the old Tiri town. Now, Tiri was a small town in Garhwal which wouldn't have perhaps had anything really exceptional to it, except that once a dam was built, the entire town went underwater. And I thought this is really fascinating, what a setting for an adventure story, an entire town which is underwater. What a crazy place that must be. So there are 4 kids. Their names are, this is Mani, that's Piali, that's Amay, and that's Fatima. At the beginning of the first book, which is The Mystery of MindNet, they are essentially just ordinary school kids in a small town, but what they are unaware of is that their parents work on some secret technologies which they don't know about, and in some interesting way they become kind of enmeshed with all that and end up becoming kind of I won't call them superheroes, but certain powers that they have become very enhanced, and that's what they'll be using in the future to solve their mysteries and this thing. In the Lake of Betrayal, the base that they go to in the Himalayas is essentially there for testing what has happened to them and the changes that have taken place, and at the same time, like I said, they're looking to expose a certain spy in that. So the kids are aged from like 9 to 11 or so, the kids in the book, and which is kind of also the target audience for the books. The base is on the banks of a lake it's called Chattu Lake. Chattu in Nepali means a rogue or a treacherous person of some kind, and so that's translated by one of the characters in the book as being a lake of betrayal, because there is a story connected with that lake. It doesn't really have anything to do with the plot, but it's kind of creates a setting for the entire book and creates a backstory which the kids are impressed by, and it does play a certain role at the end, which my father, he used to work in the Survey of India, which is essentially the branch of the government which makes maps. He made maps of India. So he used to be posted in some amazing crazy places, and that experience also has helped me in coming up with, because we tended to move from some very interesting locales. I was born in Mount Abu, for example, which is at that time was a very nice little place. And Brighton has to be right up there. I mean, when we were kids, it wasn't like we had a huge amount of variety, and especially not Indian stuff. And so we all, I mean, all my brothers and I, we read a lot of Enid Blyton. We read some other things like Billy Bunter and William, and of course Tintin and all that. All of these, I think, ended up playing a role in the sense that they gave me a sensibility of what kind of stuff I would like to write. The 5 Findouters of the Enid Blyton series are really something that I enjoyed very much. The detective aspect of it is what I liked a lot, and so I try and build in a lot of interesting elements of those kind of things, of mystery and stuff, into my books as well. Yeah.